guys, welcome back to the Squats and Sushi podcast. This is the
Beyond
Beyond
Barbells.
Barbells show, and we are your hosts, Sammy Simmons and
Annabel DaSilva.
So we hope you've been enjoying the last two episodes that we've recorded. We're going to continue kind of this way of recording where we just talk about, different topics, our own questions, your guys' questions. So as previously mentioned, please leave any questions you guys have for us either in the comments or message one of us on Instagram. Also, we have a sponsor on this podcast, Annabel.
Oh yes, we always forget this.
Yeah.
My bikini sponsor is Toxic Angel Bikinis. They gave us a nice discount code. It is SNS Podcast, 15% off of any of the competition bikinis or their beachwear or competition accessories.
Yeah. So we're gonna dive right into the questions. There's no like specific order that we did them in, but first question is about switching coaches.
So this came to me because a girl, right, she messaged me asking about Sammy and what her costs are, and she was thinking of switching. And I told her just drop Sammy a DM, right? Ask her about the details. And the girl told me that she was afraid how her coach was going to feel. So she is in a position where she doesn't want to be with this person anymore. She thinks that she can get better guidance elsewhere, yet she's not making the move because she thinks that her current coach is going to get offended or she's going to burn bridges with this person. So yeah, I thought that this would be an awesome thing to talk about because I know that a lot of people feel very hesitant when it comes to switching coaches.
100%. So I think the first thing to say is that switching coaches is not a bad thing. There's obviously going to be pros and cons, but I want to start with talking about the pros, right? So I think every single person has a different approach. Yes, you have coaches who have similar approaches, but at the end of the day, like what works for one person might not work for someone else,
Right.
So I think it's really important to, if you feel like you're not getting the results you want to, or the coach isn't giving you the attention you think you need,
you shouldn't feel forced to stay in it.
100%.
Yeah.
And the whole point of, your fitness journey is to learn, is to have different experiences. And if you feel like you're not progressing, it may actually not even be down to you. As long as you're obviously listening to what they're saying, it might actually be down to the approach this coach is providing you with. And I'm not going to talk bad about any coaches, but there are far too many coaches who give the same protocol to all their clients and they copy and paste plans. And the reason why this is so kind of popular in the fitness industry is because it's easy, right? All you have to do is copy and paste training, copy paste diet, copy paste cardio, right? So it's time saving, it's easy. The coach is probably uneducated and they're just hopping on this kind of bandwagon of online coaching, which is why I think sometimes it is looked down upon, like, oh, you're an online coach, it's not like a proper job. But in reality, there are coaches out there who, like Annabel, like myself, who actually care about clients and who are going to sit down and go, okay, let's have a look at this girl. Let's look at her history. What can we do moving forward?
Right.
So I think you should, if you ever have a gut feeling not to be with someone, you should leave because it's not going to work. You're in the back of your head. You're going to be doubting them, right?
Yeah. I feel like that could be a whole other topic, like how to pick a good coach.
100%.
What's a good coach?
Yeah. Maybe.
But it should be someone who asks to know more about you, is genuinely interested in your goals and helping you achieve them, and someone who gives you that personal attention. Like you don't want to be just another client, right?
Yeah. 100%.
Having those weekly check-ins, what we have is incredible. It's that personal touch,
Yeah, 100%. And just to kind of also take the other side and say why switching coaches isn't always a good idea. So if the coach is giving you the attention, you feel that they are, there for you, and maybe you're not seeing results, you need to understand that it takes time for a coach to get to know your body. It takes time for you to get to, know their kind of methodology, the way that they work. And
Mm-hmm.
progress takes time. So if you haven't seen any progress for 4 months, well, that's not long enough to actually see any kind of changes. And that's why what I found is that when you stick to one person and they get to know your body, if you're someone who competes, you've done a prep with them at least once, or you've gone through fat loss phase with them or through an off season, it gets better every time.
Of
every
course.
time every time you coach hop, it's like a term, coach hopping. You have to,
You have to start from the ground zero
yeah,
again. Exactly.
yeah. So you have to give it time, and you need to understand that it takes time to see results. So coach hopping isn't always going to help you, and maybe it's not even down to the coach, but it's your commitment to the plan, right?
100%.
So yeah,
And
I
the
think
reason
that
why a lot of people coach hop too is because a lot of girls want to compete and they can't take it when a coach tells them you're not ready or I'm not
100%.
going to prep you through the show. You should
Yeah,
actually listen to someone who's that honest
yeah,
rather than
100%.
ignoring and finding someone who's like willing to take you on a prep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also another thing that I find is that there's a lot of teams out there, like coaching teams,
Mm-hmm.
and they have, let's say they have like some really top athletes who we don't know their protocols, like they might be taking gear, for example, right? But basically they're selling their coaching by that person, that specific athlete, for example, right? But when they actually get clients, they don't give them the same attention. They don't give the same attention as they do to this person.
I've,
um
I've seen a
they
lot of that.
copy, yeah, and that happens so often. So make sure that you research the coach who you want to work with, right? And realize that if the coach isn't ready to actually, I personally believe in like consult calls, or like talk to you about your goals specifically, provide you with a personalized approach. Like if you're someone who has back issues, like that should be taken into account when you write the
Or
program. But if you're working with someone who kind of just like copy paste, like it'll be obvious because you look at the plan, you'll be like, wait, like I actually have issues, why is that in there? So just be mindful of who you want to work with. And if, like Annabel has mentioned in the past, like if you feel like you've done everything you can with this coach and they've given everything they can to you, and you feel like, you know what, they've done everything they can for me, but I'm ready to like move on,
mm-hmm.
that shouldn't be a problem. You should be able to have this conversation. And at the end of the day, this is a business, right? So yes, you
Right.
can be friends with your coach, but if they're moving on to someone else, it's not because they don't like you, for example. It's because they want to take their
Right.
physique further. So
I
I
hope
never
I'm with you until the very end.
I hope so too. But
Yeah, I
you
want
know
to
what,
achieve everything with you as my coach.
but even just to be real, right? If Annabelle one day decides to go with someone else, I wouldn't get offended because it's Annabelle's choice, right?
Right.
So for this girl specifically, if you don't want to work with your coach and you're worried about what are they going to think, if you go to someone else, either
Mhm.
Annabelle or whoever, um, why? They're not, they don't own you, right? So you should be able to make your decisions, and it might even be the best decision ever to move on from them.
Very true.
So
I think, like you said, go with that gut feeling.
100%, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of our take. I think it's quite a weird topic because it is quite hard to kind of, discuss that, especially if you're considering that. But I think what I've learned in the past is I've worked with different coaches, and the coach I'm currently with Callum, I don't think I'll ever switch because no one is perfect, right? I'm never
Yeah.
going to say I've ever worked with a coach who's perfect, but from everyone I've worked with, I don't think I'll ever find anyone who's so attention to detail. And I know my health with him is always going to be on point. That's
Mm-hmm.
his priority. Whereas with other coaches, like, I have been tempted to join like a team in the US, and I'm just like, they have like 200 plus clients, and I know I'm not going to get that same kind of feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to also be smart when you look at these teams, right? The reason they have so many good results is because the pool of athletes that they have is a lot bigger than someone who's maybe not as popular. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
So
Like
yeah,
the quantity of athletes that they have is on a greater scale as compared to someone who is
yeah,
small and has 15 clients.
exactly. So they'll have
Yeah,
more standout clients than someone
of
who has
course.
a small business. So you also need to kind of consider that, you know?
I think I would always prefer, it's just like modeling agencies. Like, do I want to be with an elite who has all these top models and they're not going to give a newcomer that attention? Or am I going to go with a small boutique agency who only works with a selective few, who's going to give me all
Yeah,
the attention, is going to treat me like family? I'd go with that one.
exactly.
So same
Exactly.
thing with the coach. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's kind of our thoughts on that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, favorite macro creative meals you make. So
Hmm.
as you know, Annabelle and I both do flexible dieting, which is an awesome way to diet. And I think
Right.
Annabelle has only been doing this for like, I think just over a year, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is amazing. But she's been super creative. I think you're more creative than me now in these meals. I literally just some days just have
Especially
like
during prep, I became very creative
yeah,
in how to make my meals tastier.
yeah, and it just
Mm-hmm.
makes the whole process so nice. So,
It does.
what's our favorite macro creative meal?
I feel like for me, it's my little pancakes. So
Mm,
I make like these mini pancakes
yeah,
and then I top it off with Greek yogurt, fruit, and some sort of chocolate or like
yeah,
fun food on top. So it's just like
yeah,
a cute little yogurt pancake bowl.
yeah. Do you make those pancakes on your own or do you like
No,
buy?
I don't. So we have like pancake mix here. It's
Uh-huh.
high protein. It's called Bircher Bender's
Yeah,
protein
yeah,
pancakes. Yeah. So I use
yeah.
that little bit of coconut flour and protein powder, and then that's what I make my
Oh, okay.
base with. Mm-hmm.
So it is kind
Tried
you
to
kind of
make
do.
your pancakes from scratch?
Have I made them from scratch, protein
Mm.
pancakes? Yeah, yeah, I have. You don't even have to use like flour or oats or anything. You can just make them plain, like just with
With like
protein
egg
powder.
whites, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You just use like egg whites or just even eggs.
Uh-huh.
Um, they're okay. Sometimes it depends on the protein powder that you use, I find.
Yeah, that's true.
Uh, yeah. But my favorite macro-friendly meal, I think one, it's like a diet food that's like super high volume, and I've always had this, is like Greek yogurt. Do you know phage?
Yes.
Apparently, it's pronounced
It's
faye.
paella.
Faye, yeah. Matt.
First time I went to the supermarket with Kabita, I was like, Phage. He's like, Annabel, paella. I'm like, no, there's a G. And he's like, look at the pronunciation. It's on the box, paella.
It literally says it on the thing. Matt Ogus.
Yes.
Yeah, you know how he pronounces it,
No.
faggy, fag.
Faggy.
But yeah, so that faggy phage, whatever you want to call it, sometimes I mix in like a flavored yogurt into there, like a low calorie one. So you know
Okay.
those you have the light and
Oh,
free.
so good.
Yeah. So I mix that. Then I add berries. So either like blueberries or like a mix of berries.
Okay.
And then peanut butter on top. Like there's like a liquid. You know how you can get the peanut butter that's quite hard,
Yeah.
but like there's one they sell here that's like a liquidy one. So it's
Okay.
almost like a sauce, you know?
Oh, you know
It's
what? I discovered that if you heat up chunky peanut butter, it becomes a sauce. If you just
does
heat
it?
up any kind of peanut butter. Yeah.
Oh, that's actually quite cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so looks like we both like sweet stuff. I
Sweets.
think I think it's easier to be creative with sweet stuff.
It
Because
is. What are
yeah.
those wraps that you made recently, like the clear wraps?
Oh yeah. So basically, in a Chinese supermarket here, they sell these like rice paper wraps, and
Okay.
they're when you buy them, they're literally solid. So what you do is you have to just dip them into hot water for like, I don't know, few seconds,
Okay.
like warmish water, and then you take it out. You just put whatever you want in there, and then you roll it up, and then literally in 5 minutes, it just becomes soft. It's really
That's so
interesting. Yeah.
cool.
And you can put anything you want in there, like vegetables,
Yeah.
prawns. They're so low calorie. One of those things has like 5 carbs, I think.
Oh, what?
Yeah, it's really low
That's
calorie.
nice.
So I
I'll
like
try.
finding I like finding low calorie stuff like that and just experimenting.
Yeah.
Trying to think what else is quite a cool thing I've done in the past. I'm not really sure. I think the longer you do this for, like macro tracking, the more you just kind of just keep it simple, you know?
Hmm.
And I find I'm a lot more creative when I'm in a diet phase because you have such limited calories that you're like, I want to make something cool or I'm craving this. So I
Yes.
want to make this. Whereas when you're not really in a diet phase and you're kind of in a maintenance phase, you're like, whatever, I'll just have that tomorrow. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question about macros. When are we hopping on? Are we doing a meal plan anytime in this prep?
So potentially, yes. I think
Okay.
what we're gonna do is have a look at what foods cause any kind of inflammation, and I'm gonna start asking you to like make note of that.
Make note. Mm-hmm.
Because obviously we want Annabelle's waist to be as small as possible,
Mm.
and some foods, especially wheat-based products, dairy, sometimes can cause a bit of bloating and gas. Even
Mm-hmm.
vegetables like broccoli. So
Okay.
if we find that those foods kind of do that, we will definitely take them out.
Exclude them. Mhm.
Yeah, so we just need to see like what your digestion's like, what could potentially be causing it.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll have a look at that. How often should one do rehab work? That's a really good question.
I will let you take over.
So let's first identify what is rehab work, right? So I think a lot of people think rehab is you only do it when you're injured. Some people think rehab is specifically like foam rolling and doing some stretching, right? And I used to be one of those people who just thought, oh, rehab is, something you just do on your rest days. But in reality, what I've learned is that rehab is really just priming your muscles to be the best they can when you train your body in general functioning the best it can. So how often should you incorporate it? I think this is very individual. I think if you're someone who, and it is genetic as well, but if you're someone who doesn't ever get any niggles, you recover so well from your training, you don't really have any specific weaknesses, you can obviously get away with doing a lot less rehab work. Does that mean you should completely ignore it? No. And something we've just put into your training is like a warm-up protocol.
So, I was about to ask you, is rehab work different than the warm up before the
i
training, or
i
does that
think
fall
it's
into the same category?
I think it's the same category. I think the word rehab, sometimes that's what I mean. It's like people think it means something else. I think rehab is like rehabilitation. It's rehabbing your muscles. And what does rehab mean? It's to make something better, right? To
Okay.
work on it. So that warm-up protocol is almost like you're rehabbing your muscles prior to training.
So it doesn't
Uh,
necessarily, I think that's what people get confused. They think rehab work, okay, mobility, you're stretching, and only on
yeah,
rest days. But no, mobility,
exactly.
or it could be done as a warm up as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think the best thing to think about rehab is that it's what you do outside your training to kind of
Mhm.
help you with your training, you know?
Yeah.
So for those who are, for example, injured, you would be doing rehab obviously a lot more than someone who is fine. You'd be doing it more probably than training in general. Like for
Mm.
me, my training right now is just rehab. It's not actually like training with heavy weights because if I do that, I'm just going to mess myself up again. So I'm slowly
Clear it up
building
again.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And see, because I never did rehab work and I was never told about it, that's how it got progressively worse.
Hmm.
So I think it is very individual. If you're someone who never does it, maybe have a look at
Definitely start.
introducing some. Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as you remember, before I moved here, because our warm up is completely different. The warm up that you gave me at home,
Yeah.
how it was like a 30-minute thing
Yeah.
almost. And the connection, I actually want to speak with you about that because I think
Yeah.
that'll help me feel my glutes a little bit more
Yeah.
because that warm up did a lot more for me than the current one.
It's really funny you say that because I was actually thinking on the weekend, because I actually, no, not on the weekend, today when I added a new sheet, a new daily tracker sheet, right? I was hiding some of the sheets, and then I looked at your warm-up protocol from when you were doing full body, and I'm like, we did so much glute activation, and now we don't do any of
So
that.
much, exactly. I think I like that better.
So yeah, so it's good that we've done both in such a short amount of time, because now you can feel it. So another thing to kind of address quickly here is, if you're someone who doesn't really have a good connection with a specific muscle, that's what you can also do in your rehab protocol, is activate the muscle. Especially if it's a weak muscle, or it's a muscle that, you know, doesn't do the work and the bigger muscles take over. That is rehabbing. You're trying to activate it so that when you train a specific movement that's meant
You're
to target
engaging it.
it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. And it was
Right.
never using crazy weights. We only use like band,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
like 5, 10 pounds, but it's not tiring your muscle out.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point of rehab, is you're not actually like training that, you're training it, but it's a different type of training. You're switching it on, basically.
Yes.
Right. Diet breaks. When are they needed?
Definitely not 1 week into dieting.
My favorite thing is when people go, "Oh yeah, I've stuck to my diet for like 14 days now. Can I have a cheat meal?"
Well,
There's such a huge, again, everywhere online, everywhere it says, "Oh yeah, diet, not diet breaks. Cheat meals are so good
cheat
for your
meals.
metabolism. After a cheat meal, you lose so much fat." No, it's not. So what we'll do is, I think that's quite a good thing for us to talk about as well, maybe cheat meals, why they're not great, and why diet breaks are better.
I think,
So
what do you always say? Instead of cheat meals, it's like a track.
refeed,
Refeed.
refeed,
Yes, that's
yeah,
it.
refeed. So diet breaks is like a longer break, right? That's like, it could be anywhere from like, I would say 1 to potentially even like 2 months, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, yeah,
Months.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Again, it depends. You know, if you're someone who's just lost 50 pounds, I think it'd be smart to do a 2-month diet break.
Yeah.
You know, it depends. But that's what a diet break is. What is a refeed, or what is a cheat meal? That is a short, like 1 day, sometimes up to 3 days of eating more food. Why do we hate cheat meals? Because first of all, they're very bad for you, in my opinion, psychologically. You know, people are waiting to this cheat meal and they just completely go off the rails. It's not tracked. It's, what's
Binge
the point?
complete.
Yeah, yeah. So then it sets you up for a negative kind of relationship with food. That's my personal experience. Refeeds, I think, are a great way to, if you've been dieting for a long time, like Annabel, and we
Like if
feel
you're
like,
if you're depleted.
yeah, and we feel like she can do do well with having a bit extra food, and also for us to see how she visually responds to having a bit more food, then we
Right.
can do a refeed. I would say 1 day refeed is not necessary because it doesn't really give you anything. I
Normally
tend
it's 2 to 3.
yeah, I think 2 to 3 is better because it lets your body actually go like, okay, you know, I've just had more food. Now the next day I'm having more food. So it actually relaxes and it uses it's like a benefit, you know? Whereas if you just do it for like 1 day, I don't think it does anything for you.
So
So,
other than like me being depleted, um, or to see how my body responds to more food, would another reason of having a refeed be for my performance? Like, would you ever add that in there for my performance in the gym?
so I think that having a refeed, unfortunately, it's not, in the long run, it's not really going to, you know, boost your performance for the next 2-3 weeks. It's
Right.
probably going to boost your performance for like 1 or 2 sessions.
Okay.
The main reason why I think refeeds are good is sometimes when we're in a diet phase for a very long time, our bodies get stressed. You know, you hold water, so the way to get rid of that water, to let your body de-stress,
The stress would be to have a little bit more food.
yeah, because then your body, it almost tricks the body into thinking, oh, I'm having more food, I'm going to relax a bit, you know, because the diet is now over.
Okay, that makes
That's
a lot of
why,
sense.
Yeah. So, and if you look at the hormones that are involved in dieting, like leptin, ghrelin, those are the hormones responsible for hunger, like the hunger cue. So you know how the longer you diet, the more your brain is like telling you to eat. And you know how, do you find it harder to sleep the longer you diet?
Oof,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know why? Because your body's trying to keep you awake, so you go and get food. It's really smart. So by having a refeed, it kind of helps those hormones regulate again.
Uh-huh.
That's why one day is not going to do anything, and that it's better to do 2 to 3 days of diet, not diet break, refeed.
Repeat.
So when it comes to diet breaks, that's like the next step, right? A diet break is something that is very good to incorporate if you've been dieting for a long time, and you're not finished losing all the weight, but your body is giving you all those signs like, I think we've been dieting for a bit too long now, which
So you would
is,
almost like reverse diet into a diet
yeah,
break? Yeah.
kind of, yeah. I think sometimes it depends on the length and like what the goals are, but sometimes it's good to go straight to maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're going to go back into diet anyway. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Mm-hmm.
So by jumping your calories up to maintenance, yes, you're going to put on a bit of, not necessarily fat, you definitely will gain glycogen.
Mm-hmm.
You may gain a bit of fat, but because you're going to go back into a diet, that's going to come off. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and as long as it's controlled. So, how often should, no, not how often, when are they needed? They're needed when you've been in a diet for a long time, your body is starting to show signs that it needs a rest. And that is,
Mhm.
let's say your sleep is really bad, your training is, awful.
Uppercuts, yeah.
Yeah. You feel awful. And bear in mind that if you feel like this after 6 weeks of dieting, it means you're
There's
doing
something
something
wrong.
wrong. Yeah, you're either going too aggressive, or yeah, you're
So
not.
you're saying that a diet break, you should feel like you need one after being in a deficit for maybe 14, 16 weeks?
Yeah, yeah, at least. I would
At
say at
least.
least 10 weeks, yeah.
Yeah.
And you need to understand that diet breaks, everyone's body is different again, so it's not like there's a formula of, oh, after this many weeks I need to have a diet break. I think
Right.
it depends on what you're looking to achieve. And if you have set out, I'm going to give an example with a client. So I have a client who started at 306 pounds. He now weighs 260, so he's lost over 40 pounds, right?
Amazing.
His fat loss has started to stall, so it means his body is not losing any more body fat. And
Right.
yes, sure, we can continue taking calories down, but his calories were getting low, and that's a
Pretty low.
major sign that let's do a diet break. Let's get your body's calories back up. So we've managed to slowly build them up. His body weight hasn't really changed too much.
Okay.
And once we do that for a while, he feels good mentally,
Then he's
physically,
going
and
to
we
be in
can
a
go
better
back.
position to get back into it.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
that's the best way to kind of look at it.
Okay.
Yeah. Um. Right.
Next one. So this girl messaged me. It's so funny. I got this a lot. She was like, what exercises can I do to increase my breast size? And then the second one was, what supplements can I take while I'm on a cut to not lose my boobs? The thing is, boobs are fat.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, you're gonna lose them.
100%. Yeah. The thing about boobs is that it is genetic. Again, it's where you store body fat.
Right.
Some girls will lose theirs straight away. I think more often, girls lose body fat there than anywhere else.
Than anywhere else.
Yeah. So it's a very common thing. Also, I think what I've noticed, which I don't know what this has to do with, but I think it might be hormones. So
Hmm.
maybe you've noticed that during the time of the month, your boobs actually get bigger,
Yeah.
right? So what I've noticed is, for someone who goes through a fat loss phase, let's say it's a contest prep, because it's quite aggressive and it does have a greater impact on your hormones than doing a slow and sustained like fat loss,
Mm-hmm.
because your hormones get affected, your boobs actually get smaller, like you over time, right? Whereas if you're doing a sustainable fat loss phase, I don't really feel like they get as affected,
Okay.
because I feel, and same with like my cycle. So if I'm doing a slower cut, I don't feel like my cycle really gets affected.
Gets
Whereas
affected,
when
whereas
you, again, it's to do with stress, it's to do with hormones.
mm-hmm.
You can do a prep that's like super, super slow, but again, do you really want to be doing this for like 30 weeks until your first show? And then when you could have actually just been,
A bit more
bulking.
aggressive and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So the answer really is it is going to happen and you can't really do anything. And that's why a lot of females you see, they do get,
They get implants.
yeah, they get implants. So
Mm-hmm.
it's normal. You're not alone. If you don't want to get implants, just wear push-up bras. Yeah,
Victoria's Secret.
literally. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, but it sucks because it does happen.
But what about like the whole if you train your chest, is it true that like it lifts the boobs up a little bit? Or
I don't think
have
so.
you read that? You know what I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about?
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think so because again, the reason why your boobs sag, right, is because it's skin, right? It's skin and fat. So skin and fat are completely different to muscle. If you build muscle, it builds your pecs, not
Mm,
the actual boob itself.
right.
Um, and I even know this on myself because I used to do a lot of bench press before
Okay.
for the same reason. And when I got lean for my first competition prep, I had literally like you
Did
could
you
see
have
I had the striations, like the lines, but
oh
my
shit.
boobs, it didn't change the way that my boobs look. So I think it's just something that people think like, oh, if I train this, it's gonna look like that. But
Yeah, but it's not.
no.
Okay.
Right. Next question. Right. This is quite a good one, to be honest, because I've also been there myself. How to coach a general population client who isn't willing to track.
I saw an awesome video this morning and I'm going to use what it said here.
Where did you
You
see it?
gotta manage expectations, okay? And you
Yeah.
gotta be very honest. If someone is not willing to track their macros and they're just winging it, you can tell them, all right, just by having more protein or following these guidelines, sure, your body is going to probably recomp in some way.
Yeah.
But if you're not tracking, like there's only a certain limit. And like I can't guarantee that you are going to gain or lose X amount if you're not tracking. And
Yeah.
like you just need to make the person realize that if you don't have if that person doesn't have the control over what they're eating and they can't give you back that data, there's not much that you can do. And then you leave that
Yeah.
up to them. It's their
Yeah.
decision. But I think you need to be very, yeah, just realistic and tell them how it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that. Something I saw the other day on Instagram, I had to unfollow the person,
Oh,
was that they were shaming that coaches who make their clients track macros are creating eating disorders. They're making them,
oh stop it.
yeah, so they basically wrote this whole post how you don't need to track macros to lose fat, blah, blah, blah. The thing that they're missing out here is you can lose body fat without tracking. People have done it before.
Oh, of course.
But what you need to understand, right, is tracking makes it easier because, first of all, you know exactly what you're doing. So if something's not working, you have data. So,
Mm,
okay, this isn't working, I'm going to adjust this. Whereas if you're trying to lose weight, you're eating healthy, and then you still don't see progress, where do you go from there? You'll go like, okay, I need to eat less, but how much is less?
mm-hmm.
Especially if you eat different every day. How do you know
Yeah.
what's less, right? So there are people, and I think most of the time it is mothers who have kids who don't have time for themselves, or someone who has a very demanding job and they don't have time to meal prep, right? They're the kind of people I find who don't want to track macros.
Right.
Not necessarily don't want to, they feel like they can't.
You can't.
and
Yeah.
it seems like a very big task for them to do, right? To weigh their food and all of that. Yes, it can seem very challenging at first, but I personally think it's one of those things that we are human beings. We are designed to be able to do a lot. Like, you look at some of the most successful people in the world, they don't waste a minute of their day, and they still exercise, they still do this, they still do that. It's all to do with time management, right? So, what's stopping you from taking even just 30 minutes to just prep your meals? You don't need to make it confusing, you know?
Can make it as
But
basic as possible. Yeah.
yeah. So
Quick.
I think it's an excuse for those people who say I don't have time to track. I personally think it's an excuse, and they might look at me and go, "Oh, you don't have kids, you don't have this situation." In reality, I honestly think it's time management, because
If you really
everyone
want
has
it, like
certain.
you can just stay up a little bit or just
Exactly.
do it at night, do it in the morning. There's always a way. If you were to sit down and write your daily schedule on the like right in front of you, you'll see that you have so many little gaps that you could fit
Exactly.
something like this in.
Yeah. So it's just
Yeah.
time management and how to coach someone. I think it's to have this discussion with them, um, talk with them about why it's better, show them that or have them do it for like 4 weeks. Just be like, give me 4 weeks doing it this way, see what happens.
Hmm.
So try and make it attractive to them. Try and make it as easy as possible for them. Give them some
Yes.
guidance with it. Because I think it's just, for some people, it is very what's the word, intimidating, because they haven't
It
done it.
is. It's intimidating and it can be a little bit overwhelming. I
Yeah,
understand that because that's how I felt initially.
yeah,
But
yeah,
this is way too
exactly.
much.
Yeah. When Annabel first started, she thought that if she eats like unhealthy foods, or like if she eats something that's not like super strict, she's not going to lose body fat, and that it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And then after we tried it for a bit, and she saw, like, that's the thing, we did before doing a prep, we actually just had her lose body fat. We did that mini cut with that, and she was like, "Oh my God, this is so cool."
Magic, yeah.
And
I
now
think
she's
this also really started because, you know how I track accuracy throughout the day, and I think I put a 3, and you're like, why was it a 3, Annabelle? And I said, oh, I had a protein bar.
oh
And you're
yeah.
like, see, if you were to if you were to track your macros, you
Yeah.
can easily fit that in, and that is
Yeah.
not bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, I think everyone should have a go before, like, saying, "Oh no, it's too difficult."
At
Yeah.
least give it a try. Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing is like how much I realize this is important. Yes, it is calories in versus calories out, but it's like calories in the macros.
Mm-hmm.
Macros are is important and how you split up, how
Yeah.
you distribute those calories throughout the day,
Yeah. 100%.
right?
Yeah. I think it, depending on what you're doing, I think for some people, like if you just started working with someone who's never tracked before and they're finding it very difficult, what I do is I go, okay, let's not give you specific macros. Let's just have you track and stay within your calories. Once they got the hang of that, I then
That's good. I haven't thought
yeah,
about that yet.
yeah, because think about it, like, so let's say they try and do macros for 2 weeks and it's stressing them out. They're like, how the hell do I stay, within these
Within these
macros?
numbers, yeah.
Whereas first you go, look, try and hit these numbers, for example, but the main thing is stay within the calories. So they stay within the calories. Perfect. They're used to eating that amount of food. Now
Okay.
let's kind of set a bit of like guidelines. Make sure your protein stays between this number and that number, so make it a bit more until you get to the point where this is the number for.
Truly baby step them into it.
Yeah, I find that really works for
I
people.
like that.
Yeah. Um, how often should a beginner who's looking to grow glutes train their glutes?
Hmm.
So, how often should a beginner train their glutes?
Um, I was just
Again,
making a face thinking, and then I saw my face on the screen. It was terrible. I was like,
I think
okay.
I think this is, again, very individual. Just because you're a beginner, everyone has different backgrounds. Everyone has different genetics. Some people are girls, some people are girls, some people are guys. There are females and males, and they have different hormones, which means that the way they respond to training is going to be different, right?
Mhm.
So let's take an example of someone who's never ever done any sports, literally, like, 100% newbie. For them, they will probably see progress from like, you
Oh,
know,
it's beautiful. The
yeah,
minimum
yeah,
volume you give them, they will grow. Yeah.
yeah. So don't get overexcited and go, right, I want to grow my glutes. I'm going to start training them 5 times a week. And you
Right.
know what? Again, I'm going to use a client case study here. Um, she was not trusting the process, right? And she was like, I want to increase how much we train legs. And I said, well, you're not going to recover from that, just so you know. So let's stick to what I've given you. And she was like, no, I really want to train. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I said to her, no one ever has trained glutes as much as you have from my clients, right? 2 weeks later, she injures her knee because she was under recovering. And she literally said, my legs are so sore that I ended up injuring my knee because I couldn't handle it. And I was like, so then she had to take 3 weeks or 2 weeks off. And she
No.
said, can we please go back to the split before? And the thing is, like, I kind of like it when people realize it for themselves. Obviously, she didn't injure it like seriously, but she did get
Yeah.
like a bit of a sore. But I
But
kind of
sometimes
said to
people need
her,
to go through that to
yeah,
learn.
yeah. And I said to her, like, the reason this happened is because your body wasn't recovering, and more isn't always better. You need to look at long term, you know? So
Yeah.
when it comes to being a beginner, start with as low as possible. And
Yes.
if you're not seeing progress and you've given it enough time, then maybe increase your how much you're doing, right?
And giving it enough time doesn't mean 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
A
Mm.
little bit longer than that
Yeah,
for you to judge
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah.
And also, this is why I like this style of training of progressive overload. So as long as you're getting stronger, you're actually adding in more volume over
Mm-hmm.
the weeks, right? Because you're lifting more. So that's a great way to kind of start off with like doing minimal sets, but making sure you're getting stronger, and then maybe add an extra set for more
Yeah.
volume. If you're someone who used to play loads of sports, um let's say or if you did loads of sprinting, that grows your glutes, right? But then they, ever since they became an adult, work took over, they've stopped training. The
Mm-hmm.
good thing is that you have already have this muscle mind connection that was established from a young age, and
Mm-hmm.
it may not be present now, but the minute you start training, your muscles will
It'll,
remember.
yeah.
That's why there's this kind of theory of muscle memory. So with someone like that, you're probably going to respond. You will need to do more because your body already knows from the past. It's smart, goes, okay, well, she's already done this before, so the only way for you to actually add on top of that is to do more.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. So that's why you find that me, for example, I'm injured. I haven't trained legs properly for a while. I know that at the beginning I'll get away with doing what most beginners will, but then quite quickly I'll have to lift a lot more.
You're gonna have to lift more. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So again, as most questions, it really depends on you. Always start small, and then if you need to increase.
Mm-hmm. Well, what did we ever talk about like the best beginner split? Did we agree that it was full body?
I don't think we spoke about it, but I would agree that it's full body.
Full body, right? Yeah, I would
And
do. Even I just got a new girl who's never trained in her life, 23 years old, and I'm like, full body or like a lower upper full body, because then you have
yeah,
kind of have a
yeah,
little bit more frequency. You know,
yeah,
you hit legs twice, you hit upper body twice, but I think you could easily get away with just training 3 times a day or 3 times a week.
3 times a week. Let's talk about why full body is the best split to do as a beginner.
You want to answer that? Because I don't know.
Okay. So the reason why full body is good is you need to look at yourself as a beginner, right? So can you handle, so Annabel trains, let's say lower, upper, lower, yeah? Can you handle doing as much leg training as Annabel? No, you can't, right? Your legs are not going to be
Okay,
able to
most
do
probably
5 exercises. Yeah.
not.
So by doing full body, you're doing a lot less in the session, but you're doing it more frequently. You're letting your body recover, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you do like two exercises for legs, 2 exercises for arms, 2 exercises for back, and you're doing this every other day. So the recovery is going to be very high, right? Because
Right.
you're just touching it, you're activating the muscle protein synthesis, then you rest. activating muscle proteogenesis, then you rest. So you might think, oh, well, why doesn't everyone do that if it's like really good for recovery? And, you know, the thing is, with someone like Annabel, sure, she can train full body, and we have done in the past, but if she has loads of equipment available to her, and we know that her training capacity is a lot higher because she's been training for years, why don't
Right.
we take the benefit of the fact that she can actually get through 5 exercises very good, like put very good quality into them, that way she'll grow even more. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah, and it's only because she can apply herself to those 5 exercises. If you get a beginner to do a full leg session, right,
Oh, they
it's
won't
going,
walk for like the next 3 days.
yeah, exactly, and then they'll be under recovering. It won't be quality exercises, so it just doesn't make any sense. So always start with less and then build up. Yeah.
And then build up.
Yeah. Melatonin for sleep. So
I saw something very interesting on this as well.
on Instagram.
Bodybuilding Box.
Oh, okay.
He spoke with Dr. Dean
Oh, I know who Dr. Dean
of
is.
Supplement Needs, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, and he has like a sleep stack, I think, that is
Yeah,
incredible, and everybody
yeah,
talks about it, right?
yeah, yeah.
And I thought it was really interesting because at least here in the States, like if you were to see, if you have trouble with your sleep, everybody's going to tell you take melatonin.
Yeah.
But Dr. Dean said something very interesting, that melatonin actually has a half-life of 3 hours, maybe 3 to 4 hours. So it could actually help you fall asleep. But a lot of people, when they take it, they see that they will wake up in the middle of the night and then they're sleepless again. So it's not the melatonin that is the issue. It's that your body's not producing enough melatonin. So
Yeah.
you need to have serotonin. Like your body needs more serotonin, which then leads to producing its own melatonin, and then that will give you a peaceful night of sleep.
Yeah. 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 So yeah, that's something
So
that
that was
I
interesting.
found in the US. Melatonin is really popular. You can buy it pretty much anywhere.
Anywhere,
Here
yeah.
here in the UK, melatonin is banned. You
No
can't.
way.
Yeah, you can't buy it here. Literally, I have bought it before in the past, right? And I had to buy it from the US. So
That's interesting.
I think melatonin is something like, it's an easy fix. It's a fix that makes you believe like, okay, I can't sleep, I'm gonna take it. And
Mm,
I personally think there are benefits to it. I'm not gonna lie. I
yeah.
have taken it when I had a lot of trouble sleeping, and it helps me kind of correct my sleeping pattern.
Okay.
Um, but what I will say, and what I have learned since then, is that you need to first take care of your pre-bed routine. That is the most important thing. And that we individuals in today's world are very stressed. And it might not be stress that we actually see as stress, but the
Mm,
fact that we're constantly looking at blue light devices, right? That's a stress to the body because it's causing you to stay awake. Your body thinks that it's daytime. So that interrupts your natural production of melatonin, right?
mm,
So the blue light blocking glasses, maybe you guys have seen like these orange glasses that people wear, it
mm.
helps your body think that it's sunset, and it blocks the blue light. So if you actually take the glasses and you put them on a blue light, you won't see the light, it's just white.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of cool.
Pretty cool.
So yeah, so make
It's
sure.
crazy when you, I don't know if you've done this before too. I'll put them on at like 8 p.m. and then sometimes I forget to wash my face, so I'll remove them. And as soon as I remove them, I'm like, ugh, because
Yeah,
the light is so strong.
yeah, and also I feel like it makes me so tired, like if I wear them, I
It
literally fall.
does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as if you've already done everything, because again, client example, like I have a client who really struggles with sleep,
Okay.
and I know she listens to this podcast, so she really really struggles going to sleep, and she's literally done everything. She has the blue light blocking glasses, she does everything, but for some reason she's really struggling to get her sleep under control.
Yeah.
And I know with her, she trains in the evenings, so unfortunately with her job she can't really change that, right, unless she does it in the mornings. But she can't always do that. So have a look at if training in the evening potentially stimulates you, raises your heart rate, and it doesn't let you relax. Maybe change the time that you're training.
Mm-hmm.
Don't eat too close to bedtime, because then your body is going to be focusing on the digestion.
Right.
Um,
That's why they
so
say
again,
like your last meal should be 2 hours before bed, something like that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think if you want to take melatonin, it's your decision, but you need to make sure that you've actually, you know, put yourself in an environment where your body wants to go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Don't start doing things that stimulate you before bed.
Yeah.
And I think serotonin is produced actually when we are relaxed. Um, so that kind of does make sense as to, you have to produce serotonin to then produce melatonin.
Serotonin higher to then, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think melatonin is just one of those things that is just kind of like a quick fix.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. Will you go to the gym as soon as they reopen?
So tempted to, so tempted to, because now I'm living right next to Bev's,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that is a dream to have that
yeah.
as my home gym. But I think, especially since I have a home gym, it's unnecessary.
Mm,
I'll wait for a couple of months until things seem to be settled. I don't know.
yeah.
I still feel like it's a bit risky to go as soon as the gym opens.
Yeah, and I
Your
think
thoughts?
potentially gyms will have like some sort of regulation as to how they control how many people are training at
Yeah.
once. And I don't know about you, but I'm the kind of person who I hate going to the gym, being in a rush, because some days I may need a longer warm up. Um,
Mhm.
you know, what if my machine is taken or something? So I like to just go to the gym when I can just not have to think about any of
Not
that.
have an agenda. Yeah.
Um, yeah, but again, I understand for those who don't have a home gym and they really do want to go back to
Yeah.
training. I think if the gyms reopen, it means the government feels that it's safe, right? They think that it's appropriate to open. Here, they were meant to open on the 4th of July. That was cancelled, and you won't believe it. They decided to open restaurants, bars, pubs,
When?
um, on the 4th of July, but not gyms. So everyone went completely like crazy. They're like, as if you're opening a place where you drink alcohol and you socialize, but a gym where you can keep, social distancing and wipe down equipment with antibacterial wipes. You're not opening that. It's so messed up.
That's
So
so screwed up.
yeah, I do really want to go because I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna like be honest, but I'm really insecure with my physique because I haven't been training. Yes, some of it is because I genuinely want to get rid of this injury so it never comes back in my life.
Yeah.
And I realize I have to be patient, but it's just frustrating because I haven't properly trained the same as I used to in months now. And I feel like I'm so much smaller. It's so weird because
Oh,
I used to like complain thinking my legs are too big, and now I'm like they're too small. There's pros and cons. I do think my quads were super overpowering, and I don't want to do figure. As
yeah.
much as I love figure, I'm a competitive person, right? So if I were to do figure, I'd want to take stuff, and I don't want to take stuff. So I think I needed to reduce leg size, and it's even the same for you. Like I'm glad that I think you have lost a bit of size on your legs, and I think that's a
Mhm.
good thing because your quads were a lot bigger, or
Yeah.
not a lot bigger, but they were overpowering. So I'm just seeing this as like a good thing.
Hmm.
And when the gyms reopen, we'll see. I have like kind of like a home gym here. Like I have a pretty cool setup.
Okay.
So I've been doing stuff there, but will I go to the gym? It really depends on the situation. I might see. I won't even because I've canceled all my gym memberships because I haven't been training anyway.
Hmm.
So if I go in the gym just to like check it out and I just don't like the way that the procedure is and stuff, and it's a bit like, oh, there's a queue, like a line to get in the gym and all of that, like
Hmm.
what's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Brazil, they actually opened up gyms, but they're giving you a time limit. I think that's,
mm,
I don't like that. And it's only like 50 minutes. So you go in, you clock in, you have to clock out, and then the next person goes in. That's how
I
they're,
think Yeah, I think potentially if you don't have like equipment at home, you can do like your warm up at home, right?
Oh, that could work
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like do everything that you can before going to the gym. Go do your main compound lifts. So this is actually like a tip for people. Do the things you can get the most out of. Compound lifts, deadlifts, squats, bench press, targets loads of different muscles. And
Right.
then come back home, do some band stuff, whatever, you know? Um, I think that could potentially be a
That
way
works.
around it. Yeah. Um,
How long have we been on here for?
just less than an hour.
Oh, okay. So we have some more
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Fine.
Right. By the way, I know today I might seem a bit uh not tired, but not as like chatty or
Happy.
excited. And the reason why is
Let's
my
talk about
boyfriend,
that for a little bit.
yeah, I'm gonna talk about, so my boyfriend just got a puppy, right?
No.
Right. I've never ever had a puppy or raised a puppy in my life. I've seen them obviously, you know, but I never knew what it would be like. Right, guys, let me tell you, having a puppy is literally like having a child, if not worse. So the first day, everything was fine. He didn't make any noise, nothing. We go to bed at 2 a.m. There's loud whining noises, like kind of not barking even, it's just a whining noise.
Whiny. Yeah.
So we went downstairs. The dog pooed itself.
Oh,
Yeah, and we had to like clean it up. Obviously, we're not just gonna leave it there and go, oh, yeah, we'll do it in the morning. Because guess what? He can roll in it. He
yeah.
might,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So we didn't go back to sleep until like 5 a.m. Because we had to like, we decided to take him out because we're like, crap, you know, like maybe he needs to go again. Anyway, it was a really bad night. Next day, again, you have to be very, you know, Seb is doing most of the, his dog, right? He's doing most of the stuff with the dog, but you know, I'm trying to help him, like help him clean, for example, or help with something else.
Yeah.
So literally I haven't had a proper night's sleep now in like 3 nights. Last night was the best one so far because he's kind of getting used to it. But
Did the
honestly,
blanket work with the mom smell?
yeah. So we put the blanket with the mom smell, and we've also put some like stuffed toys, and he thinks that it's like his
His
family, I
brothers.
guess. Yeah.
Oh, that's
It's
so
so, honestly, it's so cute, but it's
nice.
just so tiring. Like yesterday, I was literally falling asleep in the middle of the day. Today, I feel really tired as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just because you just don't get normal sleep. You wake up at like 3. Interrupted sleep is the worst thing ever.
Mm.
So and I get really affected by sleep. So yeah, it's not been easy, but he's so cute. It's like
He's already
it's
sitting down when you said
yeah. He
down.
he's a really good dog. Like he doesn't make any noise apart from at night.
Okay.
And it's that type of breed. Like they're known for being really quiet and not barking unless they really need to.
Okay.
Um but he is a bit stubborn. So if we want to do something, sometimes he just lays down. He's like, I'm not doing anything. Um, but it's so cute.
I love
Literally.
it because now with the coming like first month, you're gonna see its personality.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
I was gonna go home back to London because I haven't been in London, like I haven't been home in like almost 4 months.
No.
I know that the place is fine because I have a flatmate, so
Yeah,
he's looking after the place, but it's weird I haven't been home in like 4 months.
that is pretty crazy.
So I kind of do want to go back, but I may stay because it is really difficult to take care of a puppy.
Yeah.
And I've actually had a client before who got a puppy, and she was complaining how like she's had a really bad week. And in my head, I'm like,
It's a
"What are you talking
freaking
about?"
puppy. You gotta get
Yeah,
your shit
like
together, and now you're
exactly.
experiencing it.
Literally, it's so bad. I'm so
You should apologize to her now and be like, now I understand.
yesterday I was so tired I didn't even train because I'm like I can't. I'm too tired to do anything.
Oh
So
man.
yeah, yesterday was an awful day. I didn't do anything all day. But anyway,
I love having this talk with you because I recently told Khabib, I got a puppy. I want a puppy. Let's get a puppy.
yeah,
And he's like, do you understand the responsibility that comes with it? And I don't think I
yeah.
do.
I think getting a puppy, like what I found, right, is getting a puppy has really shown me what Seb is like when it comes to like taking care of something. And like I've never seen him like this. It's like a new
Oh,
person.
a new side that you're
Yeah.
seeing.
I'm like, he's really like really paying attention to details. Like, I don't know where he gets all the energy from. I'm like, mate, you haven't even slept. Like, where are you getting all this energy from? And he's like, I don't know. I think it's just because he feels so responsible for
It's
this
the
puppy.
father love already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think puppies are a great way to kind of, prior to having a child, I think it's really good to raise a
Probably.
puppy or a cat because it teaches you patience, responsibility, realizing that, you have to do it from a young age, because if you don't, it's going to have bad habits.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been quite
Is
an
he the
eventful
kind of person
weekend.
who like does he read up a lot online on how to raise the
Right.
puppy?
The way Seb is, he literally, first of all, he's obsessed with reading. Second
Okay.
of all, if there's something, if he gets like, he's one of those people, if you were to give him a Lego, not that he would do that now, but let's say as a child, like he will be sitting at it until it's complete. So he's one of those things, if he starts something, he has
He's
to finish
all
it
in.
100%. So now it's like everything is about the puppy. But what's really cute is that he has like, said to me, look, I'm so thankful for you that you're being so patient. I don't want this to like affect us in any way, because I realize I'm giving a lot more attention. And he still makes sure that we have like me and him time. So
Yeah.
like we like watch something together. So I think it's really important to not allow it like to take over your life,
Take
because
over.
it's so easy.
Of course.
Um, yeah. Right, next question.
Hmm.
Little sidetrack there, but coaching males versus females. This is quite an important thing, I
Very
think.
broad.
It's broad, but it is very important, because I think this is what I've noticed, right? I think it's so much easier to coach males, and I think there are a lot of coaches out there who post like guy transformations, right? And they're super successful coaches, and they haven't necessarily had the hardest of times when it comes to coaching. I think with females, there's a lot of things that play a role. Hormones,
Hmm.
that's the biggest one.
The cycle.
Hormones, yeah, the cycle. Second of
Yeah.
all, females have way more cravings than males. Again, down to hormones. Females crave more sugary foods and stuff than males do. When it comes to training, females are, they're going to see less progress than males due to less testosterone. um a lot of females are brand new to training, whereas males have, when they were younger, maybe did some sports, or trained with the lads, with the guys. So I feel like when you work with a female, it's a lot of it is also psychological, because
Ooh.
they're more insecure with themselves, they're scared to go near certain equipment in the gym, especially when they're first timer. But with guys, it's a lot like, get this done. And as a male, males do have a bigger ego than females, right? And when they're working with something, I feel like they just get it done. They just want to show like, yeah, I can do this, I'm alpha. Whereas with females, sometimes I feel like it can be a bit more challenging,
Mm-hmm.
which then just makes it more rewarding when you actually do see
Results.
pro
Yeah.
yeah. So I think you do need to approach it differently. The way I approach females toward and males versus males is, with males I definitely take less into consideration hormones. So we don't look at the fluctuations throughout the weeks. I kind of just go, in a straight line, linear.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with females, sometimes if I feel like, okay, they're nearing towards their period, I'm gonna not make any changes this week, just in case that they're just holding water,
Yeah.
and in case, their body is just not responding right now because of lowered estrogen. So therefore, their training isn't going to be as good as usual. So they're
Mm-hmm.
burning a bit less calories. Do you know what I mean? Whereas
Yeah.
with males, they don't have this. The things I would look at with a male is, how has their sleep been? And because sleep affects testosterone and obviously performance. And, are they getting enough sunlight for vitamin D? Or are they supplementing with it? Because that
It's a
will
lot
affect
less
that.
that you have to.
Yeah, but that's it,
Yeah.
Whereas with females, there's a lot more to consider. Also, males can't handle as much volume as females. So when it comes to the training, males need to not overtrain. They potentially need to actually have more rest than
More.
females,
Mm-hmm.
um, especially if they train really hard, you know? So Yeah,
whereas
there
women
is quite.
take more frequency.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say females don't need to deload as much as males.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, there are quite a few things to
And in
consider.
terms of exercise selection,
Hmm.
there is, because a lot of people, like I've read online, girls should be doing this, guys should be doing this exercise. I don't think that exercise, there's a gender to it.
No, for sure
A
no. I
guy
think
can hit thrust. A
yeah, I
guy should
think
hit thrust.
yeah, I think exercise selection is two things that should determine exercise selection. First of all, weaknesses and injuries. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have a weakness in a specific area, you definitely want to target that. If you have an injury in a specific area, may and a certain exercise is causing that and it's making it worse, maybe you're not designed to do that exercise or you're not performing it correctly. So
Right.
you really need to look at kind of the history and your body shape and all of that. The second thing is, what is your goal? If you're someone who's competing and you have a specific criteria to meet, you definitely need to base your training around that. If
Of
you
course.
just want to have a general, like you just want muscle everywhere, then you definitely want to have an equal amount of distribution for training.
Yeah.
But definitely there's no such thing as male and female exercises.
Exercises. Okay.
Right. Biggest pet peeve when it comes to posing in bikini. So this is quite a common thing that I see on Instagram videos, people posing, is definitely the arm thing.
So what were
So
you gonna say?
the arm thing.
Yes, I was just thinking that. I was gonna stand up and I was gonna like, what is this?
Yeah,
Like staring at a
this,
little teacup.
and also when they're actually standing on stage, they do this with their arm. They like move it round, and it's really funny because there's actually like a term for it. It's called like, is it like whisking the bowl or something? There was some sort of funny term
Oh,
for
I
it.
thought it was like a windmill type of thing.
Or yeah, or like a windmill. And I think it's like a nervous thing probably, but it is really annoying because there's some girls who literally stand like arm all the way out there. And I realize in some federations, like that's actually the front pose, is like you have to stand front on and have your arm like sticking out.
Right. But
Um,
when it comes to IFBB, that's a big no-no.
no, and I think personally it detracts from your physique. When you look at the person, you'll just look at the arm because it's like all the way out there.
I
So,
also don't like, there's another thing that I don't like, which is when a girl's like in her side pose and she like bends.
oh yeah,
Have you seen that?
yeah. Or when it looks really forced, like you know what, your side pose actually just looks so relaxed. It looks like you're not even trying, right? But there's so many girls, like not only are they like breathing their stomachs in, so it's obvious that they are, but they're also like they're standing really twisted and like I don't know, it just doesn't, it's supposed to look natural at the end of the day,
I
so
feel you.
you need to make it look as natural as possible whilst obviously keeping your midsection tight,
Which is
showing.
very hard.
Yeah, yeah,
Posing
it's
is
really
not
hard.
easy.
Yeah,
Smile here,
yeah,
but remember to flex
yeah.
everything.
Yeah. um so yeah, I think a lot of people have different posing styles, and I think with some people, I don't really like when they're on stage, when they have this really fake walk. I think it's good to kind of be, like sassy, but some people just make it look like,
Overdo it, and they do like these. I call them horse legs.
oh yeah,
They like
yeah,
actually lift their leg up really
yeah,
high, one across
yeah.
the other.
There was another thing a few years ago, which was really funny, but the way that the IFBB pros specifically would walk on stage is like they would walk sideways. Have you ever seen that?
No.
I'll send you a video, but it's
Okay.
it's really funny. But the way that they would walk on stage would be like kind of like facing the judges, but walk.
Oh yes.
And the
Okay.
thing is, I get it. You're trying to like look at the judges, but the way they would walk would just look so weird. Like you want to try and make it look natural again. Um, so I think posing is hard. Like I don't want to obviously talk down on them when I haven't done that. Um, but yeah, it is difficult, and that's why you
It
should
is.
practice it all year round.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. Even when you're not competing, I think it's good as at least in your check-in videos, for example,
I
just to,
think it's important.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, is there a program one can stick to for life/maintaining?
What do you mean by that? Do you
So I
understand the
think,
question?
yeah, I think what she meant by this question, this is a question I got on Instagram.
Okay.
I think what she means is like a lot of people, whenever they want to change their physique, and let's say they want to lose, specifically, most people want to lose body fat. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of it's not sustainable. Like you have to do loads of cardio towards the end. Well, not always, but a lot of the time it does get down to doing lots of cardio or lots of steps or having, reduced calories.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what she's trying to say is like, is there a way to get to a point where you can stick to it and have like the same plan for the rest of your life and you'll stick, like you can maintain it all year round? I think I'll start off by saying, first of all, that a person's maintenance changes throughout their lifting
Lifetime.
career. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So using myself as an example, like the amount of food that I can eat now compared to when I was like the peak of my training is so much less. And it was hard at first to adjust to this because I'm like, I'm used to eating so much more food, but my body doesn't need that much food right now, right? So my maintenance has changed. If you are continuing to train, look at Annabel, her circumstances have changed and she's eating different food depending on that. So you can't just pick a number and be like, yeah, yeah, I'm going to stick to that now for the rest of my life.
For the
It
rest of my
depends
life.
on
Yeah, it's
it
not.
depends on how much muscle you're carrying. Like if you're continuing to progressively overload, you will need more food because the more muscle someone has, the more food they get away
It
with and they
required.
can eat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Same with like dieting history. Like if there's someone who's done a lot of like yo-yo dieting, it will take them a while to actually build their calories up, or if you're someone who, let's say, used to do loads of cardio and then they decide not to, your body has to adjust to that. So I think it's always going to change depending on age, depending on, you know, what you're doing. Um, you
Would
can
someone
definitely,
be able to like? Uh, I guess you already answered that. I'm trying to think what would happen to someone who is progressive overloading with their training, or that's what they're striving for, and they have the same amount of macros for a year. What would
okay, so
what would that person
they,
experience?
yeah, so they wouldn't like basically progressively overload their nutrition. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, that's what I
Yeah.
want to.
So I think what will
I
happen
feel like
is,
with their training, they'd get to a point where it would be stagnant, right? Where they
yeah,
can't
yeah.
do
So
more.
so I think what's gonna happen is they'll get to a point where they've maxed out those macros, like in
Yeah.
terms of recovery, in terms of growing. And what ends up happening is that they're not like, let's say, in a surplus anymore. They're more in a maintenance and potentially might even go into a deficit, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
what starts to happen is like their training starts to stall. So then their physique isn't actually progressing. And yeah, they're basically just stuck where they are. And I personally don't think it's a good approach to have in the long run, especially if you want to continue changing your physique.
Right.
But some people are okay with that. Like, if you just want to maintain where you're at and you're like, I don't actually want to build any more muscle, then sure, maybe,
That could work for you. Yeah.
yeah. But for the most part, is there one program you can stick to for life? I think depends on your expectations again, you know?
Mm.
I think there is obviously, yeah, you can find something that you can stick to and you're happy with, but I think no one is ever happy with how they look like. It's so crazy because I was never like I was okay with how I look, but I never was like, oh my God, like I'm happy with how I look. When I look back now at pictures of last year when I was not injured, I was like, I'd do anything to look like that right now. Why am I so like,
You're so
why?
harsh on yourself back then. Yeah,
And I think it's because, yeah, sometimes you compare yourself to others on social media and you're always hard on yourself. Um, but yeah, I think you just have to be happy with how far you've come and
mm-hmm.
realize that you can keep progressing. It just takes time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right,
Well,
guys. We will continue. If your question didn't get answered, we will answer it in the next one.
mhm.
Um, but we hope you enjoyed this podcast. Also, if you've gotten this far, let us know if you want us to do like topic episodes where we discuss one specific thing. Um, so like I don't know, mini cuts. You know, what is that?
Mhm.
How should you go about it? Because I do think that it might be kind of cool to incorporate some of those as well.
Some of those, yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you'd like us to bring someone on,
Yeah.
or yeah, if these are too long, if you'd like them shorter half of the
Yeah.
time, or if you don't mind them being an hour and a half
Yeah.
long. Yeah.
Because that's another thing. We can do like 30-minute episodes rather than
Right.
1 hour episodes. Yeah. So the more feedback you guys give us, the better we can kind of shape
Make
this
these
towards you.
episodes for you.
Yeah. But thank you so much for your support, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.